It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about LA Fire Department Chief Christian Crowley throwing the city of Los Angeles, including, I would suppose, the mayor, Karen Bass, totally under the bus for not giving them what they needed to deal with this fire situation, and also, I would assume, to prevent the fire from happening in the first place. You may have seen some of the headlines. I've already covered this a little bit, although we got a lot more to get into today. But you may have seen some of the reports. There's no pressure in the hydrants to put up in the water hose to fight the fire, or there may be no water at all. So they got the hose, hook it up to the hydrant, ain't nothing happening. So they're trying to find water from wherever they can. Then, of course, you're not maintaining the forest, raking the brush. You're not doing anything to prepare. And these things have been known for 30, 40 years. The reservoir was emptied months ago to fix it. It's just so many things happening in the city that reek of incompetence, and the incompetence has become deadly because now people have lost their lives, they've lost their possession, they've lost their loved ones, their lives are gone. This is an unmitigated disaster. Now, before I go any further into it, can I point out a few things about leadership in LA Fire Department? Let's just check it out right here. Look at this. DEI. Statistically, there is a 0% chance that the three very best candidates for LAFD fire chief would all be lesbians. Christina Crowley, fire chief, $439,000 salary. Christina Kepner, assistant chief, $264,000 salary. Christine Larson, equity chief, salary, $399,000. Now, how do you find two bulldaggers and one regular hall monitor library looking lesbian woman to be in leadership at LAFD? And why do they all have the same name, basically? Christina, and Christine. KKK. How do you find that without it being intentional? That's like the NBA all of a sudden becoming 90% white American male. It's just not realistic without there being intentional things done to make it happen. All right. Now, let's go a little bit more. This is the person in the middle. What's her name? I believe her name is Christina Kepner. We'll see what her name is in a minute, but this is somebody in leadership at LAFD, and this is what they're doing, in my opinion, rather than focusing on fighting fires and making sure that people's homes, properties, and lives are protected. Check it out.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Okay, and then it says only about 5% of working firefighters are women. I wonder why. Anybody want to guess why? Anybody want to guess? Maybe men are better at being able to run into a burning building and save somebody. Just maybe. Just like women are better at being nurses, which is why 90% of all nurses are women. Just maybe people are better at doing certain things than others, depending upon their gender. Okay, and you can see this little run right. Look at this run. I mean, come on, man. Like, seriously, like, what are we doing? Now, let's get to this interview right here. Again, this is the chief, Christian Crowley. Okay, one of the three Ks. All right, let's see what she says, and let's really get into it.
Period.
Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
I mean, look, I appreciate the honesty. Now, some may see it as finger pointing and all this, that, and the third, but I think everybody that's watching this video understands the level of incompetence and graft and wokeness that exists in California. We all know that. It's not really a secret. And it's not just about the mayor, Karen Bass of Los Angeles. It's about Gavin Newsom. Nancy Pelosi, everybody in California in leadership, they're all to blame in my humble opinion. You got some that are trying to change things, but in general, leadership in that state is bad.
Chief Kristen Crowley, I believe the anchors wanted to ask a question back there, had some comments.
We do, Gigi. If you could please ask her regarding the Times article that came out that the Santa Ynez Reservoir was closed to repairs and it was empty. 117 million gallons of water could have been used in this fight.
The question is about the Santa Ynez Reservoir being empty. There's been a lot of questions about that.
Sure. So my stance on this is when a firefighter comes up to a hydrant, we expect there's going to be water. We don't control the water supply. Our firefighters are there to protect lives and property and to make sure that we're properly trained and equipped. That's my position on this. So if there's no water, I don't know how the water gets to the hydrants. Please defer that to DWP or whomever controls that part. But I can tell you the resiliency of our firefighters, if there's no water, they're going to go find water. They're going to figure out a way to do the best they can with what they've got in a very dynamic situation.
Let's pause for a second. Now, one thing I keep hearing from a lot of people that don't know a lot about politics, they say, oh, well, California pays so much in federal taxes. They got all this money, the biggest economy, one of the biggest economies in the world, all this, that, and the third. They don't need America. Well, where's the water at, though? Where's the water at? You see, in order to be self-governing, you got to have competent governance. And that's a thing that you guys don't really have.
And I know you expressed concerns that those DWP hydrants would not be inspected thoroughly because of the budget cuts.
That is something to discuss, and we're going to look into that in regard to how we can ensure there's going to be water when we need it. But in the end, I'm going to defer that to DWP and whomever else controls the supply. I can guarantee you that when our firefighters showed up on that day with what they had, they did absolutely everything they could do to rescue and to save people's lives and property. And that's the bottom line. Now let's get them what they need to do their jobs. And so
let's get them water, Chief, because I was with your firefighters and they literally were watching a house burn down with pain in their eyes, not being able to do anything except pull water from a swimming pool to try to save a nearby structure that wasn't burning, and literally watching a house burn to the ground because they had no water.
That's exactly right. But did they continue to work? And did they continue to do what they had to do the best they could with what they had? Yes.
Chief, follow-up. Thank you very much for talking to us. We appreciate it. I believe we have a follow-up question from the studio.
Question on that reservoir issue. Is the fire department aware of when these resources are depleted, just like that reservoir had?
That's a good question. So are they told about the water? Are they told, hey, you guys may experience a lack of pressure or a lack of water because we're doing this particular maintenance when you had to drain the reservoir? They're probably not told anything by anybody. And then when they go out there to the actual hydrant, they're like, where's the water? If they were told about this, then they wouldn't be surprised that when they go to the hydrant, ain't no water. Or the water does not have enough pressure to do anything.
No water. Was she aware of that fact, that it was under construction and there was no water there?
Sandra Endo, one of our anchors, wants to know if the department is advised that the Santa Ynez Reservoir was going to be emptied. Were you aware that there was no water there?
No, we weren't aware of that.
They don't have to advise you?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So you had no idea that there wasn't such need?
Of course not. Of course not. Because why would they go? Like they were already. If they knew that, then they would tell them, "Hey, we got you got the Santa Ana winds. It's dry. There's a high risk for wildfires, so we need that water in the reservoir." That'd be a common sense thing to say. Now, after this particular interview, the chief was called into a meeting. Okay, a private meeting with Mayor Karen Bass. The same woman who was asked about going to Ghana on a taxpayer-funded trip while the state of California burned and was speechless. Yeah, that same mayor. Let's check out what's happening here.
NBC4's Robert Kovacic. LA Fire Department Chief Kristen Crowley has now been summoned to meet with Mayor Karen Bass.
He joins us live from LA City Hall with breaking details you'll see only on 4. Robert. Michael and Colleen, you are exactly right, and I am going to quote you here because that is what sources told us. It is a complex and perhaps head-scratching moment in the firefight going on right now throughout the city of Los Angeles. Sources told NBC4 that Fire Chief Kristen Crowley this afternoon had been summoned to Mayor Bass's office, and that is where we are right now. We are standing outside of the office where the meeting that took place at 4 o'clock is still
Is that her behind all these officers? What's up with the police escort?
underway.
NBC.
Okay, or that might have been Karen Bass. I can't really tell. But I read a little bit about the meeting. There was an article floating around, and it might have been from Daily Mail. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me. But there was an article floating around saying that the chief had gotten fired. But then local media contacted the mayor's office, and they said that the chief had not been fired. So I don't know. By the time you see this, maybe she might have been fired. Maybe she won't be. But as I close, I want to say this. I don't think they can fire her, although they would want to. They don't want the chief going on TV talking about LA don't know what they're doing. It's their fault. I blame them. They don't want her saying that. But if they fire her right now, that's going to be an obvious cover up. And ultimately, you still got this fire to do with that you're not dealing with very well. There's a lot of obvious things that you could have done, not necessarily for the fire department, but for the city of Los Angeles, LA County, perhaps mitigating some of the, lessening the risk, raking the forest, providing some water in the reservoir to be able to fight the fires. And on top of that, you cut I'm seeing between 17 and $40 million that they cut from LAFD's budget. For what? You're not giving them water, you're giving them less money. And as the city grows, you're not growing the actual force. You're not recruiting enough firefighters to keep up with the growing population. You're trying to save $50 million maybe, but this disaster has cost an estimated $50 billion so far. Again, a lack of competence is a problem in California. And as long as that's going on, you guys are not going to really be able to succeed on your own at all. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about what the chief said here? How do you feel about all these people in leadership roles being LGBT, bulldagger? Like, what's the odds of that happening in a profession where you got 80, 90% males and probably 90% of that is going to be white males? How do you have 3 lesbians? It's clear that there is a diversity initiative. They're worried about diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're worried about looking good. They're worried about appeasing certain communities rather than putting water in the reservoir, rather than allowing the fire department to have enough money to be able to do what they got to do, rather than recruiting enough people to be able to fight the fires. You're worried about things that don't matter at all when somebody's house is on fire and then they lost all their worldly possessions. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.